Live from the Ingles studio.
I can't wait to play with myself every day.
The Sportsocracy.
Damn the devil to hell! Let the big dog see! Let him on the field!
Come get you some of this.
Fire them cannons! By golly, put more powder in those things.
He couldn't take any more disappointment.
Oh my God, the Jets killed him.
And a welcome into the Sportsocracy on ESPN Asheville, 92.9 FM, 880 AM, 1400. Sportsocracy heard everywhere you go around the world on the iHeartRadio app. Seen everywhere on YouTube. Go to thesportsocracy.com. Click that live video link. Subscribe to the channel. You can usually join us in the chat. Today, it is mock draft day. It is travel day as well for the trip to Wisconsin.
Yeah,
Wisconsin,
we should be in.
Thought you wanted to go.
I still don't want to go. We're on the way there, and I guarantee you, I'm going. Why in the world did they schedule this thing for Wisconsin? The only there was a T-Pain thing. Just stop it.
A T-Pain thing.
Yeah, I mean it's been 20 years since great lyricist and poet himself T-Pain rhymed. I can't remember what the rhyme was, but he rhymed it with Wisconsin.
Nice. He's a wordsmith.
For sure. Hey, you know what? If I can just make up words, I can be a poet too.
We're just days away from the 2025 NFL Draft, and the Ingles Living the Dream Tour is riding along. Ingles Supermarkets. Low prices, love the savings. Clarissa sells WBNC.com. Parks Ford of Hendersonville, and Bears Smokehouse Barbecue. We're making our way to Wisconsin. Jeremy is going to regale us now with his final mock draft. This will be the mock draft that you submit to the National Analyst Contest, correct?
Look, if something were to drop in the next 36 hours, I could change something. There will not be wholesale changes. And I'm not going to lie to you, I'm really happy with how this turned out. I'm looking at basically the way I do mock drafts, and I'm going to level. I did this one differently than I've ever done one before. Okay. So I take I have a 7 square with every team's 7 biggest needs. I fill that out as I go because those are the holes that I'm trying to fill and it's color coded and all that good stuff. As we sit through the 3 rounds that you're going to hear over the next 2 days, there are only a handful of teams that did not fill a major pressing need. And there are only 2 red needs that were not dealt with in the first 3 rounds. One of them was Minnesota, and you'll understand by the end of today why their need wasn't filled, because it's in a position that it's not real good, and they got LMNO screwed by 2 guys going in front of them. Mm-hmm. And then I still don't have a guard for Baltimore, but I kind of do. And you'll understand when I make the pick, you'll understand what I did there.
Okay. All right. Well, it is. It's about that time. So let's get it going. Is there a surprise at number 1 for the Tennessee Titans?
No. No, it's who you think it is. It's who it's been. It took me a long time to get here because they were not really high on Cam Ward at the Combine. Apparently the Combine's where they fell in love with him. And look, I like Cam. I think he can be a good quarterback in this league. I'm not as sold. And what I keep coming back to is he would have easily been the 5th quarterback in last year's class.
Right.
And that's at best.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Some guys don't feel like number 1 picks. And Cam Ward does not feel like a number 1 pick to me. Doesn't mean he's not going to be good. I mean, hell, there have been guys that don't go first overall that are real damn good in this league.
Well, I mean, look.
But it I don't know. I guess it's the fact that, yes, he's a record breaker in college, but I also saw a lot of that happen. What was it? Houston Baptist? Is that where he went?
Oh, no, he was Incarnate Word to Washington State to Miami.
That was, yeah.
Look, here's the thing. I don't have a problem with Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward can be a good quarterback in this league. Cam Ward fumbles more than I would like. I think he's going to fumble a lot in the NFL because he does this thing where he pulls the ball away from his body and he tries to do the Mahomes thing where he throws at all these weird kooky angles, and that's fine. You can do that. You just have to know if you're trying to be Pat Mahomes, you got to understand Pat Mahomes is a wizard in the pocket. So if you're not a giant-handed guy, which Cam Ward wound up with 9-inch hands, those two things together scare me to death. Because you put him behind a bad offensive line, he holds the ball away from his body, and that is a recipe for absolute disaster. He also has a lot of tape where he plays hero ball, and he feels like he has to win every game by himself. Now, when everything's in a vacuum and everything's right and everything's hunky-dunky, Cam Ward is a really talented – he's a really good arm talent that I think has a really good brain. He just has some of that gunslinger mentality to him that in the wrong situation can lead to some bad. And you got to know that going in. He would not have been the number one pick last year. He would have been clearly behind Caleb Williams, clearly behind Jaden Daniels, clearly behind Drake May. He would have been right there with Penix, Bo Nix, and J.J. McCarthy, depending on what order you rank them in. But Tennessee's got to have a quarterback. And he is the only quarterback that I really feel great about playing this year. All the rest of them, it's you shouldn't do that. So, this is what we do. You take quarterbacks here and you roll on. But Cam Ward at 1 feels like a foregone conclusion to me.
I would agree with you, despite the fact that, we personally may like Abdul Carter better. We do like Abdul Carter better.
And Travis Hunter.
We do like Travis Hunter better.
And Mason Graham.
Right.
And Will Campbell.
Are plenty, right? There are plenty of guys that are better football players, but better decision for the franchise. It's tough not to make that call. It's tough to be the one to say he's not the guy.
It wouldn't be for me, but it obviously is very hard for Mike Borgonzi. So Cam Ward's your pick at 1.
Yep. Number 2, the Cleveland Browns. And with the second pick in the Flostradamus mock draft.
Okay, so I've told basically anybody that would listen for as long as they would listen, the week before the draft is the definition of lying season. So if you believe what teams tell you in this week, look, and some of it can be true. I don't buy Travis Hunter to the Cleveland Browns. I never have, and I probably won't until I hear it come out of Roger Goodell's mouth. Because I don't understand how that's supposed to make you better. I'm not saying he's not a good player. He is a good player. We all know that. He's a good player. I don't think he's an elite player. I really don't. I don't think he's – I think he can be in time. I think he's an elite athlete. I think he's the best two-way player we've ever seen. But he's not a finished product at corner. He's not a finished product at wide receiver. I have a ready-made guy that can come in right away and absolutely be a dog. And it's not him.
Abdul Carter with Myles Garrett. I can't really wrap my brain around that. Because it seems like
it's a lot to wrap your brain around.
A match made in heaven. It seems like a match made in heaven. And it's hard to say no to something that you've never seen before. Travis Hunter, that's something we've never seen before. And I think that's what a GM would be considering of, I don't know what this can be. I don't know how good this can be. But if it's the best thing we've ever seen, and I pass that up, am I going to live that down?
Look, I'm not telling you he's not a good player. I'm not saying that by any stretch of the imagination.
Nobody's saying that.
I'm saying he's going to need some time to grow into his role. We don't even know what his role is right now. And I just struggle with that, especially when I look on the board and go, if I'm the Cleveland Browns, I can have the best pair of edge rushers in the NFL. That's on the board for me.
Yep.
That's what I would be saying no to if I don't do this. Mm-hmm. So it's hard for me to think. Man, I keep screwing this up just gruesomely. I'm running the stream a different way, and it's not working for me.
You're messing.
I am. It's going to different screens. I'm not real sure what's happening right now.
I didn't know who you were talking about. I thought you were still Andrew Berry, because that's about what I was getting ready to say about Andrew Berry and the front office of the Cleveland Browns. Kevin Stefanski included in all of the decisions. It seems like about every decision that they've made has been real risky. Lots of risky decisions being made. Travis Hunter's a risky decision. Abdul Carter's not. It's the safest pick that they can make if they're not going to go for the sexy. Right, for the thing that they've never seen before. And it will rock the division.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, for me, it's you go get the elite pass rusher. Abdul Carter is an elite pass rusher. 22.6% pass rush win rate in the Big Ten. I mean, that's ridiculous. For a guy that wasn't even an edge rusher a year ago, he's an off-ball linebacker. So he comes in already with an ability to cover. He can do all the things you could ask him to do if you put him in a 3-4. Oh, by the way, he can also play with his hand in the dirt. And I don't care about the shoulder injury. The foot injury was a non-issue. I don't care. It's normal wear and tear. The kid played 15 games last year. It is what it is. Abdul Carter's the better player, and that's who I'm going with here. I'm not believing this bull bunkie that you've given me for the last week that you're going Travis Hunter, because I know why you're doing it. You're doing it to get one of these teams to get up to 2. Because you still want a quarterback, whether anybody wants to admit it or not. You just don't want to take him at 2 because you don't want to look like a moron 3 years from now when you let Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter go and you took Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart. So for me at 2, it's Abdul Carter, and I'm not going to lie to you, I didn't think all that much about it.
Yep, too many times, chasing the quarterback comes back to burn you. You don't say no at 2 to a guy like Abdul Carter. The third pick in the draft belongs to the New York Giants, or does it? Last mock draft, this is where you had a trade. Are we trading out of this spot?
No.
No.
We're not.
Let's stay put.
I'm going to stay put here at number 3. I'm just going to forewarn you. We got a long way to go and a long time to get there. There's a chaos that's going to happen at about the start of the third hour of this show that may be unlike anything I've ever done in a mock draft in my life. And I'm not going to lie. It all makes so much sense when you get to the end of it.
That's a hell of a tease.
Oh, I'm not going to lie to you. I was legally dead when I started doing this mock draft. By the time I got to 32, I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed going, what just happened?
He excited himself. Picking fake picks in the NFL. That's awesome.
Hey, you know what? Yeah, I've always said this to people that ask for pictures of our feet. That's a very specific fetish you have. I'm sure it's hard for you to find things that scratch that itch. This scratches mine.
Okay. At number 3, who did the New York Giants take?
Travis Hunter, cornerback, wide receiver, Colorado.
Okay. All right. So they spurn Shedeur Sanders and go, and I completely agree with the call. Just throwing that out there. But this will be much talked about if it happens.
So here's what changed. And I know somebody's going to ask me this. What changed because it's Shedeur. Okay, on that part of this, hang out for a minute. We're not done yet.
Okay.
With Travis Hunter, I've heard a lot behind the scenes that Deion Sanders has way more say and way more pull here than you think he does. And Deion's really reticent for either of his guys, Shedeur or Travis Hunter. He considers Travis Hunter to be his second son. And Travis Hunter falls pretty much in line with that. I think he wants them both in New York. Now, is there a way to do that? You're going to have to just hang out. And the funny thing is, that's not even the chaos that I was talking about a few minutes ago. I think Travis Hunter is an elite player in terms of talent. You're going to have to get him in a place where it makes sense for him to grow and develop. New York makes more sense than practically anywhere else. I think Las Vegas makes the most sense. I just don't think Las Vegas is going to get a crack at him. Hunter, to me, comes into New York. He's your number one corner off the jump. He's going to play an element of wide receiver off the jump. It also tells me everything I need to know that he came out and said, I'd rather not play than not be able to play both ways. Okay, there's got to be a team here that wants you to do that, and it ain't the Cleveland Browns. And I think Cleveland heard that and went, we're good. That's everything we needed to hear.
Yeah.
Travis Hunter's unlike any athlete we've ever seen because he has as high an upside playing corner as he does wide receiver. He's just not there yet. Oh, he's the Heisman Trophy winner. Yeah, he played in a glorified flag football conference. Okay, the Big 12 is a literal, honest-to-God, rolling on the floor laughing joke. So I want to set the expectation here. Next year, Travis Hunter is going to find press man coverage that he has never seen before. He didn't see it in high school. He didn't see it at Jackson State. And he sure as hell didn't see it at Colorado. He's a thin kid. This kid only weighs 185 pounds. That's 30 pounds heavier than Tez Johnson, who, oh, by the way, was the lightest receiver we've ever had at the Combine. And 30 pounds is a lot. It ain't that much. When I'm looking at Trey Harris, who's 230 pounds, that's an NFL wide receiver build. Travis Hunter's a great talent. Travis Hunter's a great hope. It's not going to be elite off the jump. I think he's way ahead of himself at corner and way more prepared to play that right now than he is to play wide receiver. But I think in time he will be able to play both. Probably starts out playing both with the Giants. And the beauty with the Giants is you have Malik Neighbors too. I don't need you to be my one. You're my two.
Pete Carroll quoted yesterday, said he doesn't think there's enough hours in the day for somebody to be able to play and be prepared at both positions.
What did I say the other day? When I was talking about Travis Hunter, what did I say my problem was? You ain't got enough time to figure out both.
Yep. It's going to be a big risk, but if it pays off, that reward could be huge, not only for the team that drafts him, but also for him, money-wise, contract-wise, down the road. Third pick in the draft, New York Giants taking Travis Hunter, the cornerback/wide receiver out of Colorado. You're in the Sportsocracy, and this is ESPN. Asheville will roll on with at ESPN Draft Nerds. Final mock draft after this.
The Sportsocracy.
These guys are a f***ing disgrace.
We are back on ESPN Asheville. It's 92.9 FM, 880 AM, 1400. It's draft week. We're in the midst of the Flostradamus mock draft, the final mock that will be entered into the contest.
On the ninth day of Draftmas, the mullet brought to me
It
a
is
pig
truly
that'll
the
make me
11th
call
hour.
him a fatus.
Cam Ward went 1 to the Tennessee Titans, Abdul Carter 2 to the Browns, Travis Hunter 3 to the New York Football Giants. Now, on the clock at number 4, it's the New England Patriots.
You know what time it is. It's Will Campbell. It's
It's
been
Will
Will
Campbell
Campbell. It's going to be Will Campbell. And if you don't
Let's
believe
go.
me, look at where they spent their money. All right, they went out and got Carlton Davis. Why would you take Travis Hunter? All right, half of what he does is play corner. You now have 3 guys that are. I mean, I like your secondary right now. You know what I don't like? The fact that you have Venetian Love playing left tackle.
Vidarian Love.
Vidarian,
Yeah. Venetian Love.
you got a Venetian
He'll
blind
never
on the
be
left
called
side.
anything else in
No.
my head now.
I did that the other day on a show, and now I can't call him anything else. I got both of his names wrong because I called him Venetian Love.
Good for you.
Which, by the way, if I ever start an OnlyFans, that's in the running to be my name. Look, Will Campbell's a really good player. I get it. He's got short arms, and he's got elite feet. It's a problem when a guy has short arms, and trust me, this will come up with somebody else later. If you got short arms, that's a problem. If your feet are terrible, because then you can't get out. There's no way for you to get out in front of guys. Will Campbell has some of the best feet I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. And oh, by the way, it was such a problem. He allowed 4 sacks in 4 years in the SEC. He allowed 13. He allowed his quarterback to get hit 13 times in 3 years.
Going up against the toughest competition in college football, that's a pretty good feather to have in your cap.
Now, do I think he projects as? I think he will be a very good left tackle. I think he would be an elite right tackle. I think he would be a very good guard. This is not Robert Gallery, okay? Robert Gallery was a miss at left tackle, and then we figured out over time, well, his frame is squatty, and he slid into guard and wound up playing like 10 years in the NFL. That's not going to happen with Will Campbell. He's kind of upright to be a guard, and that's bothered me over the course of this process. Is everybody just keeps saying, "Oh, you slide him into guard. If it doesn't work, you just slide him into guard." You can, but I'm not sure you're going to get much better there. Where I think he would be elite is on the right side, but I could say that about 3 of the top 5 tackles in this class. Mm-hmm. So I mean, look, Will Campbell is a great high-level football player. I think New England will be lucky to have him. I think he's a dog.
I agree. I feel like he is he is as close to that dreaded can't miss as you get when it comes to a tackle in this draft class.
Well, somebody keep tabs on how many times Tank says can't miss just to absolutely make blood come out of my ears.
It just makes his skin crawl. He hates it when I say that.
Oh, yeah, because 3 of the 8 can't miss prospects I've ever seen in my life missed.
It's a crapshoot, but there's a lot to like about Will Campbell, and I'm not afraid of the arms. The rest of him moves pretty well. The 5th pick belongs to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and in our last mock draft, Jeremy, you said that this team was gonna do something stupid. Did they do something stupid?
Look, if there's any team that could do something absolutely ridiculous. And I'm going to tell you what that thing is. I did not mock it this way because I'm trying for Jacksonville Jaguar fans to have happy days.
Okay. All right.
But I'm not going to tell you it's not in the realm of possibilities.
Well, with the 5th pick in the 2025 Flowstradamus final mock draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select
Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of Michigan.
Okay, they didn't do something stupid.
Look, actively right now, Mason Graham is still the betting favorite to be the pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars. There has been a lot of smoke in the last week that Jacksonville's really locked in on Jalen Carter. Or on, not Jalen Carter, Jalen Walker. By the way, Georgia, could you recruit some guys who don't just have iterations of the same name? Because we had a Trayvon Walker, a Jalen Carter, a Jalen Walker, a Michael Williams. Mm-hmm. Could you stop, please? This is getting really annoying. Jalen Walker, that's smoke in the last week. I don't tend to buy that, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't buy it here either because I don't know where he plays. It would be one thing if you didn't have Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen. That's your 2 edge rushers. And if you think you're A, taking an off-ball linebacker at 5, B, you think Jalen Walker is an off-ball linebacker, C, you think he's worth the 5th pick in this draft, you're a moron on all 3. I'm trying to give Joey Gladstone here credit that he's not an idiot. Cut it out. I'm going Mason Graham. Look, you've got to have a defensive tackle. That was their number 1 need on the board for me. And I struggle to believe they're not going to take him. I'm going to have to hear it before I believe it because I don't think anybody's that out of their mind. But he's got some shorter arms. I don't care. He's an ox. He's an oxen, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Absolutely get after it. He'll be a big piece in the middle of that defensive line.
He's a much better run defender right now than he is pass rusher, but I
Yep.
think that can come in time. You also got to remember he had Kenneth Walker and Josiah Stewart on each side of him. He didn't have to be an elite pass rusher.
Right. All right, let's get one more in here before the break. Number 6 pick, the Las Vegas Raiders.
This one has gotten hot, but it hasn't hit Vegas yet, which makes me – that's actually one of my little tells. When I start hearing something a lot, but Vegas hasn't picked up on it yet, that means it's probably not smoke. Because if you're trying to smoke people out, it's not going to be conversations had behind closed doors. This is going to get really loud in the media, like the Travis Hunter thing did to Cleveland. This has not gotten loud, but I hear it a lot with smart people in the industry. It's Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan. Hey, Tank, how long have we been doing this with Pete Carroll?
Quite a while.
Oh, yeah, he's been a coach basically in the NFL since I've been alive, minus that time at USC. Was he like in a corner? Big, physical, long.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Does he really care about deep speed? Does that bother him at all? Richard Sherman, he didn't have great deep speed. He's a Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
Will Johnson's in the same boat. Will Johnson, I've heard him comped to Richard Sherman more than once. And that's the biggest need the Raiders have. You've got an elite pass rush. You don't have any corners. So, I mean, I would have loved to have had Travis Hunter. You didn't get a shot at him. Because what it would have taken to get up to 2 with Cleveland, you're not paying. Not when there's another corner here who is, for what you're going to ask the two of them to do, Will Johnson's not going to be out catching 9 routes.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of as a corner, I think he can be every bit as good as Travis Hunter. Especially in a system like this. It's read and react, where he can play off the man. He's playing in zone predominantly. And you're going to be able to take the fact that this kid's just an absolute ball hawk. Look, the 24 tape was nowhere near as good as 25, or as good as 23. Hate to tell you this, he was hurt. He was hurt, and that team was not very good. And Will Johnson, had he come out last year, would have been a top 10 pick. As a sophomore. We've just forgotten about him. He's like the forgotten man. I'll tell you definitively. NFL teams have not forgotten about Will Johnson. Will Johnson is a really good player that I think will make a really good pro. And I love the fit for him with the Raiders.
All right, here he is going 6 to the Las Vegas Raiders, the cornerback out of Michigan. You're in the Sportsocracy, and this is ESPN Asheville. The mock draft continues up next.
The Sportsocracy.
That is some good, clean family fun there, eh, Cot?
Back in the Sportsocracy on ESPN Asheville, 2025 NFL Draft Week, and we are making our way through the first round of the final Flo Stradamus mock draft. You can follow him at ESPN Draft Nerd or check out all of his fine work at the NFLDraft.net.
This is also a great time to plug the draft guide. Which there will be a donation button, but I have taken my cue from Dane Brugler. It was already free to subscribe or to members of the House of Reprehensibles and Patreon. There will be a donation button on it if anybody feels the urge to do that, but it will be completely free. I'm just going to put it on the website, and I was hoping to maybe add to the beer fund but people have been so good with super chats and things like that we don't have to.
Right.
This is our last trip. I can recover from some of the. I'm not like Joe Exotic. I will financially recover.
Yeah.
So we're good. It will be up on Tuesday.
All right, we are up to the 7th pick in the first round, the 2025 NFL Draft, and the New York Football Jets are now on the clock, and we'll see what Jeremy did for his team.
Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State.
All right, now is this just you you want this is what you want to happen? Are you trying to say no to the Armin Mimbu talk, or are you hearing things?
I am hearing things. I hear that there is a tackle that they really like in the second round that I haven't heard another tight end. I've only heard Tyler Warren, and they really need one of those to run this offense. So I think it's what they should do. I also think it's what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. And look, I get it. Old school Jet fans, you see tight end out of Penn State, and you just go, oh, God, it's Kyle Brady 2.0. No, it's not. Way more athletic, really high contested catch rate. I mean, everything you could want. I mean, this kid had 1,200 yards last year in the Big Ten. 8 touchdowns.
See if Justin Fields doesn't work out, he can play quarterback too.
For sure.
Because he had, 2 touchdown passes, I think, with Penn State?
I believe that's right, yes.
He could do everything.
And look, he's not blindingly. He's not blindingly fast. But he is every bit the athlete that you need a tight end in modern-day NFL football to be. I also think he projects to be a pretty good blocker. You know, if you're watching this on YouTube, you see that the PFF comp was Dallas Clark. I don't agree with that at all. I think his comp is way closer to George Kittle. He's too big and too physical to be Dallas Clark. Dallas Clark blocked sometimes. And he was never great at it. He was just a willing blocker. Mm-hmm. I think Tyler Warren could actually be good at it in time. He just needs some work.
Yeah. The problem, though, is that, that other guy, he had Peyton Manning throw it to him.
Yes. That does help.
Hopefully, at some point, they'll get Tyler Warren a quarterback. Unfortunately,
I highly doubt it's going to be Justin Fields
to start out.
Yeah.
It's going to be him to start out with if this does happen. So, not a huge fan of that for him, but getting usage in a place like New York, it's a good place. Good place to find your next step. How about that? I'm just being mean. Sorry.
Abe in our YouTube chat said Dallas Clark was a stud. He was. I just don't see. I don't see the comp there. This is a great time for me to say that, and I'll say this a handful of times throughout our draft coverage. I hate player comps. I hate them. I hate them because nobody is the same. So when you see the draft guide, you're going to see that all of my top 150 players have a player comp. Let me tell you how I did that. There are about 7 people in this industry that do those that I actually think have an IQ above salad dressing. Trevor Sikkema is one. Dane Brugler is one. The guys at Bleacher Report do a really good job with player comps. So I take all of theirs, I put them underneath the player's name, I go back and watch the tape with those names in mind, and I'm talking 5-minute little cut-up scene deep dive. And whichever one I see, that's who the comp was. I hate player comps. I did probably 20 of the 150. The rest of them were best of less than awesome ones I see out there.
Right.
I think Sikkema does a great job with them. It's just when we disagree real hard.
I just wish you would use descriptors, like instead of saying, hey, this guy is Aaron Donald, why don't you say, I don't know, he's Aaron Donald if you bought him at the Dollar General.
You're going to like the draft guide. There's a lot of those.
Is there?
Yeah,
okay, good.
There's a lot of
because I need more than that. You can't honestly sit here and tell me that Walter Nolan is going to be Aaron Donald. No one can square that in their own heads, and that's an expectation that is way too high.
That's why I hate them. So and I'm trying to think. There was one that the player comp was actually one that I really liked, but the player wound up not being very good. And so I had to clarify that this is a much more athletic version of blank. And Abe asked, what makes them similar to that player? That's really where I fall in, is if I'm going to do a player comp and really mean it, I have to watch this player and think of the other. And that doesn't happen to me very often. It happens, just not a lot. It really doesn't happen with the player that's going at 8. I'm Carolina Panther fans. I'm sorry.
All right. Yes, at number 8. The hometown team, Jeremy. What madness are you putting upon the Panthers fans here? That I didn't like the omen that was that last sentence.
Well, I feel like this is the time where I should be doing the Shawn Michaels. I love you. I'm sorry. Jalen Walker, edge rusher out of Georgia. And I'm confident in it, too.
Player. He's not a bad player. It's just he's not going to be what you want him to be. You want him to be top level, next big edge rusher in this league. And I don't think he's going to give that to you.
My problem with Jalen Walker is very simple. What position does he play? He's not a good coverage guy. He's not good against the run. He's too stiff, really, to play linebacker. What does he do? Where's he play? All right, so you're going to put him outside in a 3-4. Okay, I can get down with that.
Mm-hmm. And he's going to charge quarterbacks.
And that's really what he does. I don't see I don't believe in taking off-ball linebackers this high. B, I don't believe he is an off-ball linebacker. C, I've gone back and looked over the years at all the players that I said, I like the talent, I like the flashes, I like the blank, but I don't know what position he plays. Do you know how many of those guys wound up being hits in the NFL? You count it on one hand.
Few. Very few, I would imagine.
Jalen Walker has got the long arms save him. Because at 6'2", if he didn't have long arms, I don't think he could play edge. I don't think he could be a true edge in the NFL.
He could not. He'd have to beef up.
The question is there a system out there that makes sense for him to do both? Where in nickel he's playing linebacker. I think he's so bad in coverage. And his instincts are awful. Just genuinely awful. There are times that I'm not sure he even understands how football works. It just the ball snapped and his foot placement is insane. Sometimes he backpedals when it doesn't make any sense. He drives forward when it doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's not even like biting on a play fake. Now, that's all the negative. Here's the positive. He is insanely gifted at getting to quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina's been all over this guy through the process. Right now, the 3 names I hear, and it's been the same for weeks, are Jalen Walker, Mykel Williams, and Shamar Stewart. I struggle to believe a team would take Shamar Stewart this high. I struggle to believe that a team that really needs pass rush is going to watch Mykel Williams and go, that's our guy. Jalen Walker, if you just need to come out of this with a pass rusher, I get how you got there. But then you've got a whole new problem of where does he play, how does he fit? And again, this is a great time for me to mention this mock is what I think is going to happen, not what I would do.
Mm-hmm. Jalen Walker, as you said, he does save himself with his arms because his arms are wild. And he is best at being able to come off the edge and get the tackle unbalanced. It's the best thing that he's got because he doesn't have the beef to be able to play with a 320-pound tackle.
For sure. I mean, and that's
but he
and
does
that's the
have
problem.
the ability to get around him really well, and God forbid he ever figures it out. Like all the things that you were talking about, the technique and the footwork and the backpedaling, and if he ever figured that stuff out, he could be great
for sure.
But
we have a couple things in the chat I'd like to touch on. GG Gambling said, y'all saying Cansey was the next Donald was so laughable, I almost drank my crimes water. Okay, in fairness, if you go back, we never said he was Aaron Donald. We said he played like Aaron Donald. Mm-hmm. That right there is why I hate comps. And now, if you've watched Elijah Cansey, if you just look at the pass rusher side of it, we were right. The problem is that there's another side of the ball, and he's not so good at that.
Mm-hmm. He's working on it, though.
For sure.
He's growing on me. All right, and what was the other one?
Also from Gigi. He said Walker's the guy the player that you first moved to when you're in Madden. Dude's out of position, and it's 50-50 if you don't click off. Yep. Because, look, spatial awareness is just not good with Jalen Walker.
Agreed. Number 9. That selection belongs to the New Orleans Saints. And did they take a quarterback?
No.
No.
No pick in this draft took me longer than New Orleans. Tank, where was the Super Bowl this year?
In New Orleans.
In New Orleans. When we were doing, festive things around the Super Bowl, how many times did I just wander off and you would lose me for 30 to 45 minutes at a time?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I met a guy. I'm not going to tell you who this guy is because I'm not sure this guy wants me to disclose that I was the one that said this out loud. He's a beat writer for the New Orleans Saints. I met him at Media Days on the field in New Orleans. I got stuck on New Orleans yesterday afternoon. He and I exchanged cards. I had never called this guy before. I called him yesterday afternoon and I said, I am struggling to believe that they're going to take Shedeur Sanders at 9. His response was, you should, because they're not. I then said, but what are they going to do? And he told me a name, and he told me a bunch of things about this name that I did not know. And now I'm pretty locked in, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you, Saints fans, A, this is not my pick. B, I did not do this. C, your organization is what is making me do this. So, Tank, hit the button.
All right. With the 9th pick in the mock draft, who is it?
Mykel Williams, edge rusher out of Georgia.
Oh, okay. What do they like about him?
So, I don't know how long this switch to the 3-4 is going to take. I genuinely have no idea. I know they're going to do it because this is what Kellen Moore wants to do. Mykel Williams has a lot more fans in the NFL than you would think. He also has a much safer floor than people want to acknowledge because he is hyper athletic. He's really good against the run. And there are people that think he played grossly out of position at Georgia and that he's going to come in the league and he's going to be better. Here's what I will tell you. The Saints have been on Mykel Williams at every step of the process since Kellen Moore got hired. Since Brandon Staley got hired. Mm-hmm. That's where it changed. They have been the hardest read through this process. I feel pretty good on what they're going to do from day 2 on. It was at pick at 9 that I kept looking at going, I don't really think Tet makes sense. Because Tet's falling to everybody. Tet's doing all these visits with teams in the late teens and 20s. If he's going at 9, why are you bothering with any of this?
Right.
Walter Nolan, it feels a little high. By the way, that's what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
But
what I've done.
Then I look, there are very few people in this world that are as connected to the New Orleans Saints as the guy that told me this. So I don't love it. I know Saints fans aren't going to love it. I did get a Jermaine Johnson comp from Trevor Sikkema, though, that did make me go, okay, I like him better now than I did.
So it makes sense to you? You see it?
To New Orleans, with what I know they're wanting to do, I don't love the player. But now that I've heard it, I can't unsee it.
The Jeremiah Johnson comparison?
Well, Jeremiah was a bullfrog and a good friend of mine. Jermaine Johnson plays in for the Jets.
Sorry.
He also played for your Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
I don't hate it.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I feel like the Saints are in a really bad position. Mm-hmm. You're in an 8-man draft because I think there are 3 elite players, a quarterback's going up here, and then there's 4 more that I feel really good about. Problem is they're all gone. They're all gone, and everybody I talk to tells me that Tetero and McMillan is going to fall because this deal about not watching tape is driving people crazy. So, Saints fans, I love you, and I'm sorry. That's 2 picks in a row I've had to do that.
Yep. You are in the Sportsocracy, and this is ESPN Asheville. Let's do one final pick before the top of the hour break. It is the Chicago Bears at 10.
You know where this is headed.
I want you to say it so the Bears fans don't come at me.
Ashton Genty, running back, Boise State.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is a pick that you have pooed on throughout the process when it's been made higher than this. So, how do you feel? How do you feel if this is the pick at 10?
Okay, Chicago's another team that's been tough for me through the process because I feel like Chicago's done a phenomenal job of addressing their needs. Okay, and I'm going to go through my thought process on Chicago and the fact that I think they've talked to 800 running backs through this process, so I know they're taking one. It's just a question of where. What are the needs for the Chicago Bears? If you're just being 100% honest with yourself, you look at their roster, this is what they need to add. What is that?
I would say they need a offensive lineman.
They've already done that. Darnell Wright was the 10th pick in the draft a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Braxton Jones is not your problem. You just added 2 guards. So here's my question. Where do all these guys go? All right, so you add – is there a guy that you think would displace Braxton Jones immediately at left tackle? Because I don't. I think Kelvin Banks with short arms, he's going to take some time, probably better to start on the right side. So where are you going to put Darnell Wright?
Mm-hmm.
You're just going to throw him – you're going to throw that baby out with the bathwater? Oh, by the way, the guy that made that pick is still the GM. You just keep doing that with all the offensive linemen. Josh Simmons, he's coming off a terrible leg injury. Armin Mimbu plays on the right side. None of them fit. None of them make any sense. You need a slot receiver to replace Keenan Allen if you're not going to bring him back. This is high for Matthew Golden to me. You get to the defensive side. Every person around the Bears tells me I'm wrong that they need a corner. No, don't worry. I'm still going to add one, but I'm just not going to do it right here.
I'm just not gonna.
And the 2 top guys are already off the board. So you'd be taking a slot corner in Jahdae Barron.
Okay.
And I just kept doing this, going, none of it makes sense. This team is too good for you not to take the best player on the board. And right now, the best player on the board is either Tetero or McMillan, who you don't really have a place for him to play. You have not shown a real desire to add a receiver super, super high in this class. And you've shown that you really want to take a running back. By the way, Ben Johnson was the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions when they took Jahmyr Gibbs at 12. He's not averse to taking running backs that high.
Yep.
Genty's a good player. I like him way better with the Chicago Bears than I like him with the Las Vegas Raiders.
Now you're in the Sportsocracy. This is ESPN Asheville. At ESPN Draft Nerd, Jeremy Greene's final mock draft continues after the break.
Live from the Ingles studio,
I can't wait to play with myself every day.
the Sportsocracy.
Damn the devil to hell! Let the big dog see! Let him on the field!
Come get you some of this.
Fire them cannons. By golly, put more powder in those things.
He couldn't take any more disappointment.
Oh my God. The Jets killed him.
It is ESPN Asheville, 92.9 FM, 880 AM, and 1400 The Sportsocracy. Heard everywhere you go on the iHeartRadio app. Welcome in, if you're just joining us, to the program here. It is the final mock draft of at ESPN. Draft Nerd Jeremy Greene here on your NFL draft station. It is NFL draft week.
I feel like we should get in our emotional safe spaces and sing memories. That's kind of what I did. I'm not going to lie, when I opened all the things up, and it's the last mock draft of 2025, I did get in my feelings.
Did you?
Oh, the way we were. Misty watercolor memories.
I would imagine at this point you'd be ready for this. You'd be ready
Very
for
much
this
so.
to be
Yeah,
over.
my wife looked because I did get a little. I got a little of my feelings. Last mock draft, and she went, "Are you not happy that this is over?" And I went, "Oh God, yes. Oh God, yes. I am very happy this is over. I plan on sleeping for about 3 weeks out of the 4.5 weeks of May. It's gonna be just, and then I'm gonna park my keister in the sand somewhere for 2 weeks, which is gonna be awesome."
As you are hearing this on ESPN Asheville in the iHeartRadio app, we are on our way to Green Bay, Wisconsin, pre-recording this little mock draft here so we can, travel safely up to the cheese state. Is that what they call it? I don't know. I was going to say the Great White North, but that's Canada, so we're not going to Canada.
No, we're
bringing
going pretty
Canada
close.
to us. Right, we're going close, but we're bringing Canada to us in Green Bay with David Smith of Armchair Commentary, Zach Hurst joining us as well, and Jonathan Welch coming in from the Pacific Northwest. So we're going to have many reaches of the United States represented by the Sportsocracy in Green Bay once we get there. But today we are continuing with the Flostradamus final mock draft. This is the mock draft that Jeremy will be entering into the media contest to see how he stacks up against other NFL draft analysts around. Although if you want to go ahead and break the tie, go over to NFLdraft.net, check out all the cool work that he's been doing over there to get everybody up to date on what's going on in the NFL draft guide from the Sportsocracy.
Yes, and it is, and this is not Mullet's draft guide. Tank is featured in it. He's got his own section. He did the NFL draft team needs for each team, and Tank a vital, important part of what we do at NFLdraft.net. It's not just me.
Un poco.
Well, him, Bill Workman, Bryce Dial. Just there was a lot that went into this. This was like our trial year on NFLdraft.net, and I'm so happy at what we were able to do to get people ready, and I'm looking to doing it even bigger next year. Next year, this will be the first time I say this out loud. Next year, we will have 1,000 NFL draft prospect rankings. I'm calling my shot. I'm hitting 1,000 next year.
My goodness! All right, look forward to that. Above and beyond.
We have we're going to announce some things at the draft that are pretty exciting that we're going to do next year. If you're not a big college football person, but you're a draft nerd, we're going to try to find a way to bridge that gap.
Right. We're going to make you a college football person. Let's go to number 11. The 11th pick in the 2025 NFL draft. It belongs to the San Francisco 49ers. Flostradamus, what do you think they're going to do?
Mike Greene, edge rusher out of Marshall. This is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen, that the red flags on Mike Greene and the red flags on James Pierce are completely different.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, and I don't know, I don't have FBI contacts or anything like that. It's going away with Mike Greene. I'm hearing way less about it. So I don't know if they found something. I don't know. The James Pierce thing is getting worse and worse and worse and worse. I don't know why. I can't confirm any of it, but I think Mike Greene's going to find his way into the top 15. I believe he either goes 11 to San Francisco or 15 to the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay.
And Atlanta sees Mike Greene go and, nope, didn't like that at all, because they don't really like any of the other edge rushers from what I can tell.
So Mike Greene slides in on the end of the 4-3?
Yes. And look,
replaces Yetur Gross-Matos?
To me, I think he can play with his hand down. He can play with his hand up. It doesn't really matter. And him and Bosa is an elite pass rushing duo. The defensive tackles in this class you're still getting good players in 2, 3, 4. Here's what I learned when I went through this process. There are 2 positions that we're undervaluing where these guys are going to go. Edge rusher, And that one, I noticed it pretty quick of, whew, I'm having to go deeper into the bag than I ever thought in the top 64. And the one that really hammered home with me was corner. If you've got a corner in this draft, take wherever you think they go and bump it up by 30%.
Gets thin in a hurry.
For sure it does. And you get into super raw project fast, and there are a lot of teams that need corners. But Mike Greene, to me, San Francisco kicks it off. I think they can get a defensive tackle in the later day 2, early day 3. They can come in and play right away. There's a player that I love with them that we'll talk about on tomorrow's show that they take in day 2, that it ties everything together. It really improves the defensive line. Mike Greene has very little miss. You know, the tape is obvious. He destroyed people at the Senior Bowl. It's just a question of, are you comfortable with the character that you're getting? And from everything I can tell, it sounds that teams are getting to a point where they are.
The 12th pick, that belongs to the Dallas Cowboys. What do you got?
Armin Mimbu, offensive lineman, because I'm not ready to declare whether he's a guard or a tackle for the Cowboys because I'm not 100% sure. From Missouri. Look, I feel like I need to have kind of a fait accompli on Mimbu, because I have talked a lot of smack. Most of my smack comes from taking him in the top 10, because I don't think he's a top 10 prospect. I don't think he's a top 10 player. Like, the idea of taking him ahead of Will Campbell is blasphemy to me. But if you're looking for somebody, and Dallas is the perfect place for him to land, I'll tell you why. They need either a guard or a tackle. Armin Mimbu can play either guard or tackle, and I'm not going to lie to you, I don't really care which one it is. I think he can be an elite guard. I think he kind of reminds me of Talizi Fuaga from last year. I liked Fuaga better, and Fuaga had a really good year with New Orleans. There's a lot of raw in Mimbu. And he's a super interesting prospect. The deeper I got on him, this kid is insanely smart. And I like the idea of, I can just get him to camp. I can try him at guard. I can try him at tackle. I know he's going to start at one of the two. He holds up in the run game. He holds up in the pass game. I just don't think he is the refined, finished product that everybody talks about. And what has bothered me about Mimbu is, why did your evaluation on him jump so much in the offseason? I didn't hear anybody talk about him this high until we got to the Senior Bowl and the Combine, and I hate when players jump up like that. The more I dove into him, I like him with specific teams. I like him with the 49ers. I like him with the Cowboys. I like him with the Dolphins to a point. I don't think he will get any further than that. I do not like him at 7 to the Jets. I hated the idea of him at 4 to New England. And I hate the idea of him at 5 to Jacksonville. But you get him in this little honey hole, and I'm fine. Everybody has a price.
Who does he unseat on the line?
It would be Terrence Steele on the right side, and I think that's probably how it goes. It's easier to get guards in this class than it is to get tackles. And there is a guard in this class that I think fits Dallas well. We'll talk about that in day 2. But there is a guard that I really like the fit with him and Mimbu. And then you got Tyler Smith and Tyler Guyton on the other side, and you got Beebe in the middle, and I feel better about your line now.
Okay, you definitely need to pay some attention to that offensive line. The best days of this franchise have always been when you've had a hell of an offensive line, and it's taken a hit, some attrition over the last couple of years. The 13th pick belongs to the Miami Dolphins. Mad respect, Coach. What are you going to give my friend?
This has changed a lot in the last 48 hours. Jalen Ramsey will not be a member of the Miami Dolphins next year. Whether they cut him or trade him, I do not know. By the way, that offseason last year, wow. You could have given a drunk toddler a blank checkbook, and he would have done less damage to this organization. I mean, they extended Tyreek Hill, who now wants out. They extended Jalen Ramsey, who has now forced his way out. They extended Mike McDaniel, who I think they would have fired had they not done that. And they extended Jalen Waddle, who just had the worst season of his career by 10 miles. Mm-hmm. This has changed with the Jalen Ramsey news. I don't know exactly where they would play this kid. I think he would end up on the outside. It's Jahdae Barron from Texas. I love Jahdae in that move safety role, and that might be where they use him. It's entirely because they need a safety too because they lost Javon Holland.
Right.
So you may see him in that move role and playing on the outside some in the base alignment. Jahdae Barron is maybe the smartest player in this draft. He may be the most versatile player in this draft because he started at safety at Texas. Then he moved into the slot. They kicked him outside last year, and he won the Thorpe Award. Size, yeah, he's not as big as you would want. But in zone, this kid's a bulldog, and he's really sticky in man coverage too. You will get
he's everywhere.
He is. He jumps all over the tape when you put Texas tape on. I do not love him as much on the outside. I had him evaluated as my number one slot corner in this class by 2 full rounds, mind you. But I think he is good enough on the outside, and he's versatile enough that Miami has a secondary problem. Now, here is the other thing that makes me like him in Miami. The Dolphins may have the deepest group of edge rushers in the NFL with Chop Robinson, Jalen Phillips, and Bradley Chubb. So they're going to get after quarterbacks. That helps with a player like Jahdae because he can hold up in that 2.5 seconds. You're going to get to quarterbacks quicker than that. So a lot of the issue I have with him is in continuation, in man, of there comes a time where he just can't stick any longer. I don't worry about that with Miami. And this gives you a little buffer to move on from Jalen Ramsey, which they made it very, very clear yesterday that they were going to do. Yeah. There's no there's no holding hands and singing Kumbaya coming here. Jalen Ramsey's going to be playing somewhere else.
Jahdae Barron with that sub 4.4 speed. Some Miami Dolphins fans are going to be happy with that one. You're in the Sportsocracy. This is ESPN Asheville. We might as well take the break early. I don't want to cut short the next
we
pick
can do the Colts. This one's super easy because it's exactly who you think it is.
All right, I just wanted to give everybody their due time. So the Indianapolis Colts do have the 14th pick, and he says it's an easy one. So I guess that means they're going to get a tight end.
Yeah, Colt fans, if you feel like you didn't get your time, go back to the 7 other mock drafts where I've taken this same player to you at 14, and then you can regain your time because we've talked about it a lot. It's Colson Loveland.
Yeah.
Loveland, to me, there are only 2 spots he's going to go in this class. He's either going 14 to the Colts or he'll fall to 22 with the Chargers.
Yep.
And look, I think Loveland is so much better than other people do. He's my 12 in this class. I get it. He's been around for a long time. He didn't have necessarily the year last year that you wanted him to. The quarterback play was terrible. Okay, he only had 582 yards last year. I don't care. I don't care. He had me playing quarterback. You watch this kid. The only knock I have on him is that the contested catch rate is a little low. He's so good after the catch. And you wouldn't think that when you look at him because he looks like he would be more lumbering. And I think there are times that we look at how a guy looks and you get this idea of who he is in your head, and then it just becomes gospel. The problem is it's not accurate. Colston Loveland's...
I was going to say if a guy moves like a Tecmo Bowl character, then yeah, it doesn't look great. And I get that kind of, that stiff movement from a tight end is, I don't know. A lot of people look at that and go, 14? Really? That's a little high.
Loveland is, he's got long arms. I think he's got sweet hands. And I think he will hold up as an inline blocker in the league. Now, you get to that next tier of tight ends, and it gets way more bootsy. You're getting way into more projection. Well, if we develop him, he can be this. Colston Loveland's a no-doubter. This is, for me, if I'm the Colts, I'm looking at level at 14 going, that's an automatic A. It's not going to be an A+. plus. I'm not going to jump up and down about it and go, oh, my God, you got the value of the draft. No, you got a solid starter that's going to help you with Anthony Richardson. And if Richardson doesn't work out, you've got a ready-made piece for whoever the next quarterback is.
Mm-hmm. I mean, how many times have you tried to do that developmental thing with a tight end over the last few years? Feels like several.
Will Mallory, Mo Alley Cox, Jelani Woods. That's just off the top of my head.
Yep. I was going to go back, even back to the tight end that they drafted with Luck. His teammate from Stanford.
Oh,
can't remember his name now.
Colby Parkinson?
That
wasn't Parkinson.
Maybe.
Parkinson played at
was
Stanford.
before
But...
Parkinson. Yeah. This was
Oh, no.
before
You're talking about
Parkinson.
Kobe Fleener.
Colby Fleener. That's it. You've been searching, yearning for that guy since Dallas Clark, pretty much. Colston Loveland, he's the one that makes the most sense, and you don't have to make that excuse of, well, he's an athletic freak and he could become something like you would if you waited to go with Harold Fannin or Elijah Arroyo or Mason Taylor. It's a safe pick at 14. You are in the Sportsocracy, and this is ESPN Asheville Mock Draft Day, final Mock Draft Day here in the Sportsocracy as we are headed up to Green Bay, Wisconsin. This a pre-recorded program here on ESPN Asheville, 92.9 FM, 880 AM, and 1400. We'll be right back.
The Sportsocracy.
Why are you smiling?
Because I love football.
We're back in the Sportsocracy on ESPN Asheville. It is Mock Draft Monday, the final mock draft of Flostradamus Jeremy Greene, as the NFL draft begins in, well, just a few short days. Up in Green Bay, Wisconsin, we have worked our way to the Atlanta Falcons now, picking at number 15. And, Jeremy, this has, well, let's just, I need to find out which way he goes. Is he gonna make the bad pick or the worst pick? Because usually only happens either of those ways for the Atlanta Falcons. With the 15th pick, the Atlanta Falcons select.
Falcons fans, I'm going to say the same thing to you that I said to your two NFC South compatriots. I love you, and I'm sorry. Shamar Stewart, edge rusher, Texas A&M.
Okay, this is supposed to be bad? Why is this bad?
I think people will think it's bad. There are certain players, and look, I get it. You want to see a guy that had the crazy sack numbers. I understand. I get where you're coming from. I really do. And I see Abe in our YouTube comment said Shamar Stewart's not good. I'm going to disagree with you in that I don't think he's good if you're planning on putting him on the outside of a four-man front. Where I think Shamar Stewart can succeed is if you go complementary drafting and take an undersized 3-4 outside linebacker to play behind him, because Shamar Stewart is a moose. I stood next to this guy at the combine. He is built out of granite. Then I was standing right on the end line as I watched him run the 40, and I went, ah. So I went back and deep dove the tape on him. They asked him to do a lot of things that I don't think are really what he does. I think Shamar Stewart's way closer to a defensive tackle than anybody wants to admit. And then I looked at how they used Nick Scorton, our favorite player here, Hurton for a scouting. I think Shamar Stewart in a 3-4 can be really good. And I look at what Atlanta has right now and the raw pieces that they can use to put together this defense. I like Shamar Stewart here a lot. People forget that that's a part of this too. I get that the edge rusher is sexy. Don't ask me why they don't like any of these guys outside of Mike Greene, because I don't know. I don't know. They didn't, and I had intel last year. They didn't like Dallas Turner. How many times did I tell you that? I get that's who you think they should take here. They keep telling me that's not who it's going to be. They never told me Michael Penix, which would have been awful sweet of them to do. But it's the same people this year telling me they don't like Ezeraku, they don't like James Pierce. Mm-hmm. They've tried to like James Pierce, and they don't. So when I got down to it, Shamar Stewart was one of the hardest players in this draft to place because it seemed like the teams that liked him don't really have a place for him, and the teams that don't like him are the teams that he really fit with. The one exception to that was Atlanta.
I was fully expecting this to be, I don't know, Jahad Campbell or something. I like this. I would really like it if Shamar Stewart went to the Atlanta Falcons at 15. He's one of the guys that I look at in this draft and go, he is going to be a solid contributor in this league, despite the fact that he didn't have great stats in college. You don't have to have great stats in college to be a good NFL player. We've seen this go either way, right? We've seen dudes in college have amazing stats and then come into the league and do nothing. Mm-hmm. And we've seen it the other way around as well. I can't watch tape of Shamar Stewart and not see it. I'm not the talent evaluator, but I feel like if you don't see it, maybe there is a problem.
I see Raheem Morris as the guy that is going to see Shamar Stewart and go, I can get it out of him.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, it's a lot harder to find a 5-tech in this draft than it is to find an outside linebacker. Now, Atlanta fans, have no fear. I'm not done. That's not your last pass rusher in the first 3 rounds of this mock. And I think when you see Shamar Stewart with the other guy, you're going to go, okay, we can rush a quarterback now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to the 16th pick. The Arizona Cardinals, Red Sea, anticipating his guy.
I know,
board, Jeremy.
I know that Red Sea will be happier with this name than Andres Pinckney was with the name for the New Orleans Saints. Walter Nolan, defensive tackle, Ole Miss.
Okay. He'll be excited.
I agree.
With defensive tackle.
Well, you just look at what Arizona has, and they've got Zaven Collins, who I like better as an edge than I do as an off-ball. You've got Josh Sweat that you just signed. You put Walter Nolan in the middle of this in your nickel alignment, in your 4-man front, and then he plays 5-tech in the odd front. And that makes more sense to me. If Will Johnson was here, I would have taken Will Johnson. Now I'm officially to the point. I didn't think he was going to be there in the first place. He got there in one mock that I did. I can't see how he gets there now. Now, the other name you were looking at was James Pierce, and I know they like Pierce. I'm not undervaluing the idea that they could make a maneuver to get Nolan and Pierce. Mm-hmm. I did trades in this mock. Most of my trades were in a few picks. I'm telling you, the start of the next hour is going to be pandalarium. But I love Nolan. Nolan's in my top 10. I don't think he's getting past Arizona. They've had him in the building. I really like him, and he's another one that I look at of, man, Texas A&M really ruined you. Because if he had played at Ole Miss for 3 years and done what he did last year, we'd be talking about him in the top 10.
Yeah.
But people keep going back to that Texas A&M tape. The funny thing is, hey, name me we have 5 guys that played defensive line at Texas A&M. Name me the guy that the tape doesn't make your head hurt. Do you just think all 5 of them suck, or is it possible that maybe Mike Elko and Jimbo Fisher are not the best at getting defensive linemen into the NFL?
Shamar Stewart to the Falcons at 15. Walter Nolan, another defensive lineman, to the Arizona Cardinals at 16. The final Sportsocracy mock draft will continue after this on ESPN Asheville.
The Sportsocracy.
Pull up your pants, take off the bra, and be a man.
Back at the Sportsocracy on ESPN Asheville. It is the final Florstradamus mock draft at ESPN Draft Nerd, Jeremy Greene. We're up to the Cincinnati Bengals at number 17, and Cincinnati making moves, hopefully on the defensive side of the ball.
Is there a name you're wanting me to say here? Because I'll tell you, this is a name that I have not mocked to them one time through this whole process.
I mean, there is a name that if I were the leader of the Cincinnati Bengals, I would be calling a certain secondary player's name.
Which one?
Malachi Starks.
That's not the one.
Really?
But you got the right position. Nick Emanwari, safety out of South Carolina.
Well, before Malachi.
I have heard this a lot through the process that there is a team somewhere that is really high on Nick Emanwari. And I couldn't piece it together. And then I saw a random little tweet that said the Cincinnati Bengals have low-key done more research or more work on Emanwari than any team in this class. And then I sat here, and I made a note of that, and I kept it in the back of my head, and I just kept thinking about it, and it started to make sense because of how Al Golden plays defense. Emanwari, I feel like I've crushed him a lot during this process. Emanwari is, in terms of height, weight, speed, all of the things you could ever want, he is not of this earth. But there are some warts to his game. He's not a great tackler, but I think a lot of that's technique. I think a lot of it is that Nick Emanwari is a big, gigantic human being that is fast as hell, and I'm not sure he's really acclimated to everything yet. He's an elite cover guy. In terms of as a deep safety, he is the scary, terrifying human that you want in the back half of your defense. But I also think he's kind of a hybrid of he can play in the box, he can play deep. Ryan Fay said he'll fit right in with not being able to tackle in the secondary. It's a good line.
Yeah.
I like Emanwari. It's just I want a very. I love Al Golden. I mean, I'm sure you already know that. I think he is a really, really bright guy. My problem for Cincinnati is that I've said the whole time I think safety is one of your biggest problems. The problem is that you've got two guys right now, Geno Stone and Battle. I don't necessarily love either one, but I think they can be usable pieces. You need somebody that ties all this together. And Emanwari makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. Now, for those of you that are asking, why did I not take Malachi Starks here? This is not what I'm going to say this in every segment. This is not what I would do. This is what I'm hearing. I'm submitting this to be the most accurate draft analyst in the country. So if I'm saying it, I promise you I didn't pull it out of my keister. Mm-hmm. And what I am hearing is that Nick Emanwari is there. Now, I think with Cincinnati fans, especially the ones that are currently saying, man, I hate this. I think once we get to the end of round 3, you're going to go, okay, all right.
I get that the Bengals have done the most work. Yeah, the tweet that you referenced, somebody said they've done the most work than any other team on Nick Emanwari. But maybe that just means they had more, I's to dot and T's to cross. They had more questions about him maybe than anybody else. Maybe they do like him, and maybe they kept they like just him to make sure. But he's not better than Malachi Starks.
He can be. Oh, that's not what you just said. Is not true at all. He's rangier than Malachi Starks. Malachi Starks is a flat-footed 4.5. I mean, look, I know you love Malachi, and no, it's not going to take long for him to come off the board. If you want a single high safety, it's Nick Emanwari, not Malachi Starks. Straight up. You said he's not better at him than anything. That's bull bunky. He's 10 times more of a blitzer. Easily 10 times more of a blitz. Malachi Starks rushed a passer 13 times in 3 years. Mm-hmm. There are flaws to Malachi Starks. Look, I think he is in a specific set. I'm going to say this again. You're not going to have to wait long to hear Malachi's name. I don't think it's Cincinnati.
Well, you should.
I don't think it's going to be.
Okay.
I like Eamon better for Cincinnati than I do Malachi Starks, based on what I think they would do and what I think they're going to ask him to do.
All right, Nick Eamon, the pick at number 17 to the Cincinnati Bengals. That means the 18th pick, that's the Seattle Seahawks.
You feel like this is Tedero McMillan, don't you?
100%.
It's not.
Okay.
Kelvin Banks Jr., offensive tackle, Texas.
Okay, that fills a need as well.
See, I've said this a lot. Seattle constantly says we will not take guards this high. All the things. Kelvin Banks is the guy that ties your offensive line together. Now, if you're going to ask me why do they not take Tedero McMillan, one of the things that I have learned over the years, there's probably not a GM in this league that cares more about you being a football guy than John Schneider. Mm-hmm. I cannot wrap my brain around the fact that guy is going to look at a player that goes, I don't love football. I don't really watch tape. I don't really care about football that much. I just go out and play it because it's a job. I struggle to believe he's taking that guy.
Right.
Now, I will say the team that ultimately takes him, I think there was probably a struggle with that too. But that team is going to ask him to do something that I don't think Seattle would ask him to do. Seattle's got to get somebody that can play, that can start at guard, and if things go sideways with Abram Lucas again, can kick out to tackle. There's not many of those dudes in this class. It's basically Mimbu, Banks, and Gray Zabel. End of list. Mm-hmm. If you don't take him here, you're not going to get him. By the way, this is a team that does have 2 picks in the middle of round 2, and that's more of a honey hole for receivers. It's more of a honey hole for a lot of positions. I don't think Seattle believes they have the receiver problem that the rest of us do. I think with Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's going to play on the outside. Cooper's going to play in the slot, and you're going to see a good bit of Jake Bobo, and they're looking more for a 4 than they are for a 2. How are you going to make all that work? I do not know. Just reading the tea leaves.
Is there.
Do I now?
MVS is their field stretcher.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
Sure he is.
Sure he is.
MVS is a guy that bought a 5-speed and can't drive a 5-speed. That car will go really fast. Yeah, but you can't drive it.
Right.
I don't care how fast it will go. You can't drive it.
All right, Kelvin Banks adding some talent to the offensive line for the Seattle Seahawks. That brings up the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at number 19. Wait.
Malachi Starks, safety.
There you go.
Georgia.
Fire them cannons! By golly, put more powder in those things.
I like Starks better in this scenario because you do play deep zone so often, and you've got rangier guys in McCollum and Dean that allow him to take the center of the field or to take a quarter of the field and then you can really allow Antoine Winfield to do what Antoine Winfield needs to do, which is play up in the box and be an enforcer against the run. You're the Bucs guy.
Sir.
Look, if there was ever a time for you to give the analysis on a pick, it would be right now.
Well, listen, Malachi Starks has the ability to do everything. He can
Except
do
blitz.
anything. He can blitz. He can still blitz. It's not his strongest suit, but he can still do it. Now, will he be asked to? No, I don't really need him to do that.
He'll be asked to do it more in Tampa Bay than he was ever asked to do it at Georgia.
Well, one of the reasons that he wasn't asked to do it at Georgia a lot was not because he couldn't do it. It was because they needed him in that secondary. The secondary has been the weakest part of that team during the championship runs. And Malachi Starks was the only real star that they had back there. You you can't take one of your best coverage guys when you don't have other good cover guys around him and rush the passer with him. This allows you to do that because now you have two safeties that can do both. I'm going to use Winfield way more often than I'm going to use Malachi for it, but I can switch up those looks. I can have a little fun with this.
Yeah, I don't like Malachi as a blitzer, just to be clear. He's
No,
undersized and he ain't all that fast. So
yeah,
I like Malachi to do what Malachi does. Malachi's really good over the top. I think the tape last year was not as good. The corners weren't as good. He was asked to do more. Georgia's secondary got gutted last year in the draft, and now 42 of them play for the Philadelphia Eagles. So
right.
I think Malachi will be a good NFL player. I am not shocked he lasted this long. Safety, you got to say, do you know how many safeties have gone in the first round of the NFL draft in the last 6 years combined?
2, 3,
5. And a couple of them were not drafted as safeties. They became safeties later.
Mm-hmm. Right. Zach Hurst is right. Cowboy Zach Hurst. If that happens on draft night, I will come unglued. I will happily come unglued for that.
Oh, by the way, you said 5, and I got distracted. The number was 2. There have been 5 in the last 11 years. There have been 2 safeties that were drafted to be safeties in the last 6 years.
Mm-hmm. It's not a lot. It's not a premium position. But this year you have a class that has, to me, one at the top. Eamon Worry, he's not that far off. I still think it's wild that he went before that. But, hey, things happen in the NFL draft that don't make sense to me a lot. Number 20, it's the Denver Broncos. I mean, just pencil it in, right?
Marion
We all know
Hampton,
what the pick is.
running back, North Carolina.
We all know what this pick is. Throughout the whole process, all I've heard is Sean Payton's absolutely in love with Omarion Hampton.
It makes sense. I mean, look, Hampton, to me, Hampton's my number 1 running back in this class. He's the best pass blocker in this class. He's a good pass catcher. He's a do-everything back. He's the definition of a bell cow. And what I love about him with Denver is that you can take some of those short yardage touches away with Audric Estime, and you have Jaleel McLaughlin who can still dance around on the outside. You don't have to use Omarion as the, no doubt, 22 touches a week bell cow. You can use him for what he is, which is, I think he is elite at a lot of stuff. You couldn't build a better NFL running back. When I saw him at the Combine, I went, you look like if Disney was casting a guy to be the star running back of a team in a movie, it would be you.
He's just got the look.
Great change of direction, great feet. There's very little that bothers me about him. You want me to tell you the number one thing that worries me about him? Tread on the tires.
What's that?
Because Carolina ran him into the ground. I remember watching a game against Florida State where he had 442 yards or something ridiculous like that. And they were still running him into the fourth quarter. At some point, your agent should have been jumping out of the crowd going, we're good. It's a 30-point game. You can stop running him now.
Didn't he end up with like 37 carries in that game?
It was something
It was
dumb.
something insane.
Florida State couldn't stop him. I mean, Florida State literally you could have given the 11 players for Florida State machetes and handguns, and I'm not sure they could have taken down Omarion Hampton.
He has about every tool that you're looking for. He can break away. He can bust a big one. He can catch it out of the backfield. He can do all the things. And then that brings us to number 21.
And this, my friends, is where things go a little sideways.
This is where it comes off the rails, the Pittsburgh Steelers at 21?
Well, that's who has this pick.
Uh-huh.
It's not who's making this pick. Because we have a trade.
Okay.
We need a trade button.
Oh, I have one of those.
Who's gonna break the news?
Oh, God.
Who's gonna break the news? Who's gonna break the news? Who's gonna break the news?
Breaking news. What's the trade?
The New York Giants trade up to 21. They give up 34 and 65 to get to the 21st pick with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay. The Giants getting back in here for a quarterback, I'm guessing.
It is indeed a quarterback.
Let's go to the commissioner.
With the 21st pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Shedeur Sanders. They get them both.
Okay. So they got Travis Hunter at 3, and here they give up 2 picks to get back into the first round with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Pittsburgh wants a quarterback. It's not Shedeur. And I have that on good authority. It's not Shedeur.
Mm-hmm.
So Pittsburgh trades back. Yeah, you lose the 5th-year option, but you can still take the guy you want. Shedeur has Travis Hunter, and now if you're Brian Daboll and Joe Shane, you can look at the ownership and go, that's how we fix this franchise. That's why you don't fire us when we go 6-11. Because we have Travis Hunter, we have Malik Neighbors, we have Shedeur Sanders. If for nothing else, we have completely taken back the back page in New York, and I think we will be improved. That was me saying that as Joe Shane. Me as Jeremy Greene at ESPN Draft Nerd. I want this to happen so bad I can't stand it because I want to laugh like a hyena for 7 picks in the first round going, you actually, honest to God, think those 2 are going to fix your problem. I don't love Shedeur. I've been clear about that. I don't just think he's not a good prospect. I think he's a straight-up bad prospect because you have people that think he's elite and he's not. And when he's not elite, who do you think's going to get blamed for it, him or you? He's got great arm talent. He's the most accurate passer in this class when everything's clean. The problem is everything isn't clean in the NFL very often.
Right.
And so behind that offensive line, yeah, you've got 2 weapons. You got a guy in Hunter, a guy in Neighbors that can get open. But do you have a line that can hold up in front of you? And they just had to give up capital to come up here and get you.
I love it. It's the perfect New York scenario.
Oh, for sure it is.
Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter will go to the New York Giants. And then in 1 calendar year, or before that calendar year is up, Deion Sanders will be the head coach of the New York Giants. They will fire Brian Daboll. They will fire Joe Shane. And they'll just turn it all over to Deion and let him do it. Because why not? Just put the thumb in the eye of all Dallas Cowboys fans.
Now that you've seen it,
Can't unsee
tell
it.
me you can unsee it.
Uh-huh.
It makes everything I've heard through this whole process make sense. They want Shedeur. They don't want to take him at 3. They get his buddy Travis Hunter. And then basically Deion's in the back channels going, don't do it. Don't do it, New Orleans Saints. Don't do it. I don't want him with you. I'm going to get him where I want him to go. And Pittsburgh, who wants Milrote, does not want to take him at 21. So they drop back and go, we're good. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Or are
So
they?
this way we don't get to make the Kenny Pickett mistake again. Because if I'm Pittsburgh, that is the goal here. I don't want to do that again.
Or are the Steelers good? Or are they good?
Oh, no.
Oh,
More chaos.
Oh, I'm
will
saying
ensue.
we may not be done with trades for signal callers.
All right. We'll have to get it after the top of the hour break here in the Sportsocracy on ESPN Asheville, 92.9 FM, 880 AM, and 1400. The final mock draft of Flostradamus Jeremy Greene. We will continue here on ESPN Asheville as we are at the precipice of the season, of the Ingles Living the Dream Tour season, on our way to Green Bay, Wisconsin, for the 2025 NFL Draft. We'll be right back.
Live from the Ingles studio,
I can't wait to play with myself every day.
the Sportsocracy.
Damn the devil to hell! Let the big dog see! Let him on the field!
Come get you some of this.
Fire them cannons. By golly, put more powder in those things.
He couldn't take any more disappointment.
Oh my God. The Jets killed him.
Welcome into the Sportsocracy on ESPN Asheville, 92.9 FM, 880 AM, and 1400. Sportsocracy's heard everywhere you go on the iHeartRadio app. Don't forget to set ESPN Asheville as one of your new presets on the absolutely free iHeartRadio app. Seen everywhere on YouTube as well. All you got to do is go to thesportsocracy.com, click that live video link on the page, and subscribe to the channel, and that way you can be with us every time. We've got content coming out on the YouTubes, and that's going to be super important for this week, especially because it is NFL Draft Week. We are currently not in the studio, as normally we would be when you hear the sound of our voice. We are actually on the road right now, going up to Green Bay, Wisconsin, on the Ingles Living the Dream tour, and but we had to lay down the final mock draft of Jeremy Greene.
We are headed, in the words of the great poet T-Pain, to a mansion somewhere up in Wisconsin.
It's coming to us from the NFLDraft.net Mullet Manor, and the mock draft, we're up to number 22. Left it off with Jim Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers. What's the pick at 22, Jeremy? Hold on. Sorry. Button. There it is.
Tataroa McMillan, wide receiver, Arizona.
I was wondering when that name was going to come off the board.
Everybody has a value. Look, I've been told the whole process that Tet's not as high as you think, because there are people that question his work ethic. They question his drive. They also question how he wins way more than I would have ever thought. All right, so just take the journey with me. How many times do I crush Pac-12, Big 12 corners?
All the time.
Tet still won. A lot of his catches were contested. You get into the NFL, there's not a second corner from Cal lining up here that you got in the Pac-12. There's also not a second corner from Texas Tech that's lining up here. You also got to realize he did a lot of his work in like 4 games. I think this is more where he's going to go. I like him, and I'm going to continue to like him. But he's probably best suited as a 2. And you got Ladd that you got to deal with out of the slot. You've still got Quentin Johnston. You've still got Mike Williams that you just signed to come back to the Chargers. I like this fit. I know they want a tight end. I'm okay with Tyler Conklin for a year with Ted on the outside.
Mm-hmm. Tataroa McMillan is the concern here that he won't be able to separate from corners? Yes. Okay.
The concern is that he's not as shifty as you want. He's not as straight line fast as you want. He's just big. And look, I've voiced this concern with big receivers in the past. For every Mike Evans that's not blindingly fast, but man, he's got a lot of nuance to the way he runs, and he's just physical as hell. There's a Mike Williams, not the Chargers one, the one that played for the Detroit Lions, who was a lot like defending a couch. You don't really have to worry about it running by you.
Tataroa McMillan at 22 to the Los Angeles Chargers. The Green Bay Packers are up next at number 23.
Donovan Ezeraku, edge rusher, Boston College.
Going with the college connection there with Jeff Hafley.
I feel like Jeff Hafley's just going to be beating a table for this guy. Recruited him, coached him in college, and he knows how good he is. Mm-hmm. Look, you can tell me that maybe he's a little bit undersized. You can tell me whatever you want. This kid dominated the ACC. 16 and a half sacks last year. And I think he wins consistently. I think he can win multiple different ways. I love the idea of him standing up. I'm good with his hand in the dirt and an even front. I don't really care. Oh, by the way, he's a good run defender too. I feel like Ezeraku is what you were sold Lucas Van Ness was. And he hasn't been. I mean, look, Green Bay. How many times do we have to see Green Bay take high value positions in the draft before we realize it's just what they do? You look at their history of first-round picks. Look at what the position grouping is. They take a lot of D linemen. And Ezeraku makes a ton of sense. I mean, I get the Hafley connection. That was really just the thing that put me over the top on it. I liked it before that.
Mm-hmm. I would probably like them to go after a corner more than an edge rusher, but my question is there going to be one there next round?
Yes.
Better than
the honey hole. The honey hole for corners is in round 2. Now with Green Bay, I'm not going to lie to you. The way what they're looking for is going to be harder for them to find. And I'm glad you said that about corner, because look, there are a lot of teams that need them, and there's not a lot of them that fit exactly what it is that you're looking for. Because my question would be, all right, so which corner would you like for Green Bay here?
Well, I know that they met with Trey Amos, so he's probably high on their board at this moment.
I think he would be, if you were going to take one, that would be the one.
Yeah, that's probably the one. But there comes the question again, though. You got to weigh Trey Amos and the second-round edge rusher. How do you like that compared to having Donovan Ezeraku and whoever you're going to be able to get toward the end of the second round?
Well, look, the thing that you got to understand,
the way the class and the talent lays out, it probably does play better to go edge rusher first, wait on the corner, although you're getting it at the back of the run.
Well, the thing you got to understand about Green Bay is they played zone at the 8th highest clip in the NFL last year. Trey Amos is a better man corner than he is zone. The problem is that I don't like any of the zone corners as the 23rd pick in the draft. Green Bay's in an ugly spot there in that, I mean, I love Revel, but if you take him at 23 and that knee doesn't hold up, you're going to look awful dumb. But they're also really not prone to doing that. You know, Jair Alexander, that's been a minute ago. He's also still on the roster, just throwing that out there. I know we've talked about him getting traded about 100 times. He's still on the roster.
Okay, and
I love the idea of them adding Jalen Ramsey, just throwing that out there. I haven't said that yet, but if there's one team that I look at and go, oh, boy, he would be fun. I know he's a head case, so you basically exchange one head case for another, but still.
Right. Do want to correct myself here. I pulled up the list on Green Bay. Apparently, they did not meet with Trey Amos. I thought they had, but they did meet with Savone.
I think they would like to get Savone Revel in the second round.
They did not meet with Donovan, but I don't think they have to.
They don't.
Know him pretty well.
Hey Jeff, you sat in his living room. What are your thoughts?
Right, but he's not on the list. Really? Okay. All right.
We have a super chat to get to before we get to our next pick because excrement's about to get real.
All right.
Curtis Davis talking about his Go Chargers Go. Loves the Ted McMillan pick, low-key who he wants after Nolan and Grant. It was hard for me to bypass Grant. I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it. I couldn't take Kenny Grant with Ted McMillan still on the board.
And the Minnesota Vikings next on the clock, the 24th pick in the NFL draft.
Also, before Zach Hurst said we are not staying in a mansion in Wisconsin, but do love the reference. It's a pretty big house, bro. It sleeps 12, and it's right on Lake Michigan. So I'm not going to say it's a mansion, but it's pretty big.
Minnesota Vikings. What do they do in the draft?
He said Minnesota.
Oh, wait a minute. Do we have a trade?
We do.
Oh!
Who's gonna break the news? Who's gonna break the news? Who's gonna break the news? Who's
All
The
right, who are they
Minnesota
trading
Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings are trading the 24th selection in the Mullet Mock, along with pick 139, to the Cleveland Browns for 33, 94, and 104. That gives
33,
that gives
94, and
Minnesota
104.
2 extra picks at the end of the third round to address their needs because they only have 4 picks. If any team's going to trade down, I swear to you, it's the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay.
So we get the trade here with Cleveland coming up to 24. And you did this out of order, so now you have to hit the button again.
Oh, sorry.
Cleveland Browns select Jackson Dart.
Oh. Getting up in front of the Rams to steal the quarterback.
You got to get up in front of the Rams because the Rams, I'll be honest with you, and I'm going to say this about the next 2 picks because I'll go ahead and forewarn you. We have a trade at 25 too. The Rams have worked out practically every quarterback. And I'm going to level with you. I don't think they're interested in any of them. I think they would take Dart if Dart fell to them. They know he's not going to. They know that definitively. He's not going to fall to them. There's too much hype on him. We know what happens with quarterbacks. And so you get Cleveland here who jumps up. Now you got Abdul Carter, who you've got the elite pass rush, and you got the quarterback. And you got Kenny Pickett that can stem the tide until Dart is ready to play this year. I love the idea of doing this. And I really should because I did it with the Giants and I did it with the Browns. Neither one of you reached for the quarterback. I'm okay with Jackson Dart at 24. I'm fine with Shedeur Sanders at 21. I don't love it, but I love it a lot more than taking him at 3. And so now you have quarterbacks that give you hope. And I like Dart more than Shedeur Sanders. I like Abdul Carter a lot more than either one of them. So,
Right.
and Cleveland
the
didn't
fact
give up
that-
much because they had a comp pick in the 3rd round that they traded here to get up to the spot with Minnesota.
It really feels like a dream scenario for both of these teams.
Doesn't it, though?
Picking at 2 and 3, you don't want to take the quarterbacks, but then maybe later on in the draft, right? Because who was it? Was it Jason Light? I was reading the other day that was saying that between the 2nd round and the 4th round, there's no real difference in the value of the players that you can get.
I would wager you probably heard a lot of GMs say that because I've stood in front of about 8 of them that have said it to me, and my board dictates that. Look, you want more picks. Cleveland's desperate. I got 2 extra picks in the top 104 if I'm Minnesota. That allows me to deal with a lot of my needs.
Sure.
Now I pick at the top of 2. Yeah, I don't get the 5th-year option, but I'm in a window here. I'm trying to prop up J.J. McCarthy. Cleveland comes up here and gets their quarterback. We're all happy. That's what a trade should be. Speaking of which.
Who's gonna break the news? Who's gonna break the news? Who's gonna break the news? Who's gonna break the news?
The Houston Texans have traded the 25th selection to the Pittsburgh Steelers for 34 and 83.
Okay, the Pittsburgh Steelers trade out of 21. Now they trade back up to 25.
They jumped 20 spots in round 2. Hey, who did the Rams have in the building yesterday?
Who?
Jalen Milroe. How many top 30 visits have the Rams done throughout this entire process?
5.
That's 1 of 1.
That's
This
the
is
only
the
one.
easiest thing I've ever seen in my life of who wants you to know that. The Rams wouldn't take Jalen Milroe at pick 126, let alone at 26. So a team that doesn't do top 30 visits brings in a guy and lets you know that. What does that tell you? You better take him at 25. Oh, by the way,
Yep,
he's
sending the
in.
signal.
Oh, by the way, he's in the building for the draft. What does that tell you? He ain't falling as far as we thought he was. Now, the Steelers might be smart enough to go, hey, you know what? I can see through you. And they may not make the move up, but it didn't cost them a ton. Didn't cost them a ton. They might stick pat. Of the 2 trades I made, or 3 trades I made, this is the one that I feel the most. Pittsburgh may just see through this and know exactly what the Rams are doing. Let Houston make the pick, but I think Houston wants to trade down. Houston's got a lot of picks inside the top 100. But you know what's better than what you currently have? One more.
One more. All right, so with the 25th pick in the 2025 NFL mock draft, Pittsburgh selects
Jalen Milroe, quarterback, Alabama.
Man. 2 weeks ago, I'd have told you you're absolutely insane if you think Jalen
Then he got
Milroe
invited
is
to the
going
draft, and you went, oh, wait.
There's got to be something to it.
It's what I did. It's what a lot of analysts did. I talked to a lot of these guys, and as soon as we saw that Dane Brugler tweet, NFL Draft Discord and NFL Draft Twitter went nuts of all of us going, what am I missing right now? And you know what the answer I kept getting back was? Arthur Smith. That's what you're missing. You're missing a guy that has already shown a predilection to really liking mobile quarterbacks. Jalen Milroe's the mobile quarterback. If this is what you want to do, this is who you do it with. I'm just telling you, I don't love it. But with Aaron Rodgers, who I do think will be the starter here, you can sit Milroe for at least a year, maybe 2.
Pittsburgh Steelers at number 25 trade back up into the first round, the Houston Texans, and take Jalen Milroe, quarterback out of Alabama. That's absolutely insane.
I told you. It's chaos. Andy Selmiller, who is a Steelers fan, said, blech, hate it. And I'm going to level with you. So do I.
Not a fan.
Don't kill the messenger. Don't hate the mock drafter. Hate the team that made the mock drafter do the thing that you didn't like.
That's right. It's not your fault. You're in the Sportsocracy, and this is ESPN Asheville, 92.9 FM, 880 AM, and 1400. The mock draft continues with pick 26 after this.
The Sportsocracy.
That's horrible. No, you know what that is? That's horror awful. That's horrible and awful mixed together. Horror awful.
Back in the Sportsocracy on ESPN Asheville, the final mock draft as we head closer and closer to the big day. On Thursday, we are currently on our way to Green Bay, Wisconsin. This is pre-recorded, so don't freak out. We're not just pitching our voices or anything like that. If we could, we'd be working somewhere else, making way more money than this.
Oh, for sure.
But we are safely making our way up to Green Bay, Wisconsin for the 2025 NFL Draft. All of the live coverage on draft night, Thursday night and Friday night. You will catch it on the YouTube stream. Don't forget to go to thesportsocracy.com, click that live video link, subscribe to the channel. That way you can join us in the chat while we are live in Green Bay. Coming to us from the NFLDraft.net Mullet Manor, it is Flostradamus Jeremy Greene, and the Los Angeles Rams have the 26th pick in the draft. Jeremy, are they going to make a trade as well?
No.
Okay, no trade here. So let's see what the Rams do.
They don't they don't walk this pick up. They run this pick up. Jahad Campbell, linebacker out of Alabama.
Go screaming to the board. All right.
Apparently, there's more to this injury than I think. Because I keep hearing that Jahad Campbell's not going to go as high as I keep mocking him. There is also the problem of where exactly do you play him? Because some people do evaluate him as an off-ball linebacker. I don't. I think he's more of an edge. I mean, look, he can hold up in coverage, but his instincts are really lacking. And look, he started as an edge. He's converted to linebacker. I think he will get better in time. But I look at a defense like this with the Rams and go, you're telling me I can have Braden Fiskey, Jahad Campbell, and Jared Verse rushing passers? I still got Byron Young. Okay. Yeah, I'm in. I'm in. He can play off ball in early down sets and then become a true, genuine pass rusher on third down. I'm all the way in.
Right.
One of the best tacklers in the class. I think he's really versatile. But the idea that he's not going to go as high is kind of difficult for me. One thing that was said to me over the course of the last few days is you're undervaluing how many teams think he is a true off-ball linebacker and how devalued that position is.
Yeah. The highlights of Jahad Campbell are intoxicating. To watch him split defenders and make plays behind the line of scrimmage. What is the bad part? Where does he get washed out? Where do you see him not paying off?
With Jahad?
Yeah.
Well, there's positional value. If he is an off-ball linebacker, then look, those guys just don't tend to go that high. You know, that's one of the issues I had with Jalen Walker, too, is if you think he's an off-ball, cool, then he belongs in the 17th round because he's not very good at it. Now, we don't really have that problem with Jahad. He can do a little bit of everything. He's just raw because he's only been playing linebacker for 2 years. So I don't think he is a plug-and-play. I'll tell you who he kind of reminds me, not necessarily the game, but kind of where the evaluation is going to go. You remember a few years ago when Nolan Smith came out and he was undersized and we couldn't quite put our thumb on where the hell is he going to play?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. Because I asked 10 people this question, I get 5 different answers. I don't think it's as easy as, well, he's just going to play on the outside of a 3-4, and then he'll play sub-linebacker in nickel sets. I don't think it's that simple. His instincts need a lot of work. But if you're willing to put in the work, he can be fine. Because, look, he holds up in coverage. I mean, yes, there's some bad tape, but I'll be honest with you. If you find me a linebacker that doesn't have bad coverage tape, his name is Jay Higgins. And he would run the 40 in about the same speed that I would, and he is completely irrelevant against the run. Jahad is a legit 3-down player. But he did have the injury. Torn labrum, I think. And that's apparently scared some people.
Jahad Campbell going 26th overall to the Los Angeles Rams. Number 27.
Oh, hold on. Before you hit the button, let me just say something because we've got a few Eagles fans that are listening to this. If Howie Roseman had ever really shown me that he was willing to take a linebacker this high, now he had never really paid a linebacker, I would have considered making the move up if I was the Eagles. Howie Roseman really does not do that. He's never, and I know Nolan Smith, I get it. That was a bit of a different case. And yes, I do know that I just compared them. Nolan Smith he valued him as an edge rusher. If he does that with Jahad Campbell, then I can't tell you he wouldn't do it. I would just be a little surprised.
27th pick belongs to the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens making news yesterday that, they're open. Eric DeCosta says they're open to possibly trading Mark Andrews. You buy it?
I do. That's been talked about basically all offseason. I don't really think that I think Mark Andrews' next game comes with somebody else. But I will tell you that has absolutely nothing to do with who they're going to pick right here. Because there's not a tight end. I want to get a pass catcher. I need a pass catcher that's not going to play out the slot. And that doesn't really work for me here. What does Baltimore do better than any team in the NFL?
Take the best of the bunch.
They sit right in their spot, and they take the best player that somehow still fits a need for them every single time. That's what we're going to do right here, too.
Okay.
Did you already hit the sounder?
I did.
Okay.
You want me to hit it again?
No, you're good. I missed it because I saw a butterfly or something. Josh Simmons, offensive tackle out of Ohio State. But they have Roger Rosengarten. You're right. And Roger Rosengarten was fine, if not spectacular, at tackle. I evaluated him last year as a guard. Oh, we need to fix this offensive line. Cool. Tell me that this is not the most Baltimore Raven thing you've ever heard in your life. We slide Rosengarten into guard while we still have Ronnie Stanley on the left side. Josh Simmons plays on the right, and then when Stanley ultimately goes to greener pastures, whether that's through retirement or he takes money somewhere else, Josh Simmons slides over to the left. Now I got Simmons on the left, Rosengarten goes back to the right. That's as Baltimore as it gets. There's not a more Baltimore Raven pick that you will ever hear in your life. And I've said this before. When I mock draft Baltimore, I go, if I was picking at 28, what could they do that would immediately make me say obscenities very loudly? It would be take Josh Simmons.
Okay.
He would have been a top 10 pick had he not gotten hurt last year.
Josh Simmons, the tackle out of Ohio State, going to the Baltimore Ravens with the 27th pick.
That's one of those selections that I had not considered one time before I did this. And once I saw it, I could not see it.
Mm-hmm. We will continue with the final mock draft here in the Sportsocracy on ESPN Asheville, 92.9 FM, 880 AM, 1400. Next.
The Sportsocracy.
Ice up, son. Ice up.
Nope. You got to start the tape. All right. False start.
The Sportsocracy.
Ice up, son. Ice up.
We are back at the Sportsocracy. It is ESPN Asheville, a mock draft Monday on NFL Draft Week. The Eagles living the dream tour. It's rolling on.
We
are
ride!
Pre-recorded right now. Yes, we are pre-recorded right now, but we are physically on the road to Green Bay, Wisconsin. Happy Draftmas Monday.
We rode it dawn, leeches.
Yes, sir.
I couldn't use the other word because we're on the radio.
We only have 5 more selections left in the first round of the final mock draft. This is the one that will be entered into the national media contest by Jeremy Greene to see how he stacks up with the other analysts around the country. So, with the next pick coming at number 28, it is time for the Detroit Lions.
I found out a little tidbit that there's a particular member of the Detroit Lions staff that's particularly close to this player. It's Gray Zabel, guard out of North Dakota State.
Okay.
I have read tea leaves on the Lions that, yes, I think they need an edge rusher. They've talked to practically every single one of them that's going to go with their next pick. So that makes me think that there's somebody that they're really locked in on that they think is going to fall in their lap. How many times have I said Gray Zabel's not going to go as high as you think? Because I keep getting told that. Mm-hmm. Do you see any way that Dan Campbell watches that tape and doesn't go, that's my Huckleberry right there?
He is right in line with the MO of this team.
He can play every position on the line that's not left tackle. And he's got a mean streak that is a country mile long. Absolutely dominated at the Senior Bowl. And look, guard on the high side is not very good. Gray Zabel's the high side. To me, that's one of the biggest needs on this team. You've got 4 of the 5 line spots. That line has been what this team's been predicated on. So I think there's a great chance they invest early in that. And they look at the depth of the edge rusher class and go, this is going to be our second guy anyway. There is a player that I love for Detroit. He's just going to go to them in the second round. I love the fit with Zabel. Hank Fraley, by the way, his son plays at North Dakota State. Good thing to know. How many times have we seen that? What's his name? Ezian, that plays for Tampa Bay? Didn't he play with Todd Bowles' son?
Yeah, I believe so.
There was a kid with the Steelers that played with Tomlin's son.
Mm-hmm.
You get intel where you can get intel. And I'm going to venture that the Lions have got some really good intel on Gray Zabel. And I love the fit there at 28.
Yep. If he was going to go earlier than this, he probably could go all the way up to 19 to my team. I know that they have apparently the scouting staff apparently has been picking Cody Mock's brain on everything about Gray Zabel. He was on a podcast the other day and said they won't leave me alone. They keep it seems like every time I walk down the hallway, someone in the scouting department is asking me about Gray. So I know that we're hot on him, and
I don't think you'd take him at 19 though.
That could be the ceiling for him if things got wonky in the first round. Gray Zabel at 28 to the Detroit Lions. That brings us to number 29 and the Washington Commanders.
Well, I had two thoughts here.
Mm-hmm.
I could go receiver, but I don't think I have to because there are a lot of receivers, and we still haven't had any of those. But, man, I would really like to have an edge rusher, and, man, there's an edge rusher here that just really, in the words of the great poet Edgar Allan Poe, really tickles my pickle. It's James Pierce Jr., edge rusher out of Tennessee.
Stat correction, that was not Edgar Allan Poe.
I think it was. I think it was. Wasn't that in The Raven?
I don't think
Quote
so.
The Raven nevermore really tickled my pickle. That's
No, you're
pretty sure it did.
You're thinking of The Telltale Heart. That was
Oh, yeah. Doth beat beneath the floor and does not tickle my pickle.
Good for you. Good for you.
Not just a hat rack, brother.
Poe reference. Let's go.
There was a time that I actually could remember things that weren't 40 times. It was many a moon ago.
Read a book.
Learned a book or two. James Pierce Jr. is one of my favorite players in this class. There have been things that have been said about Pierce and not being the greatest character guy, et cetera, et cetera. Chris Dooley said Logan Paulson's going to delete my contact. He says, I can't wait. So Logan's not going to be on the pod with me later this week because he's in London. I can't wait for him to come back and go, the draft guy that I've told everybody about has drafted the guy that I absolutely cannot stand to the Commanders. I don't understand what it is that people don't like about him. I really don't. I can't figure it out. Especially if you have some girth in the middle. Because he is light. I mean, if that's it, I get it. All right, if you just think he's too light to play in this. But then I look at how Washington developed over time. And I'm going to elaborate. We got some time here because, oddly enough, we're actually doing well on time for the first time maybe in the history of us ever doing these things. At the end of the year, Washington started playing a lot more of what's called bear, which is a 5-man front. And so if you look at that, it leads you to drafting a lot of guys that are almost 3-4 guys because the edges are playing so far on the outside that you're almost treating them like 3-4 outside linebackers. Do you not love James Pierce if I put him out wide?
Yes.
We go full wide, and you're telling me you don't love that with Johnny Newton and with the name just Javon Kinlaw. I will kill quarterbacks.
James Pierce has a brutal swim move. And if I can have him running at the tackle, that's a dream come true for me.
And you got Dorrance Armstrong on the other side. I mean, to me, with that 5-man front that they were really prone to using, because at the end of the year they were doing it at some unbelievably high rate. I love James Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
He's my number 6 player in this class. I don't care.
Character red flags, they're a problem.
He could be the biggest jackass on the planet. Don't go have beers with him. Just go let him kill quarterbacks, and he can drink by himself.
Yeah, but he also, if he's going to put himself in danger off the field, that might be an issue. I mean, I don't know any of these things. I'm just
None of that.
If there's a story about a guy that he's, not good in the locker room, that he's uncoachable, and all these other things, that's gonna feed down to, can I trust him off the field, and that'll come down to, can I trust him if I take him in the first round. So I could see how teams will take him off the board or hope that he sticks around for the second round or whatever. I will not be surprised to see James Pierce fall into the second round. I also will not be surprised to see him go in the teens.
I will be stunned to see him fall in the second round. I don't understand how you watch the tape and go, that dude right there.
I don't either.
Is going to be – really? Really? We're going to wind up with him, and I'm not trying to throw shade at the name I'm about to say. You're telling me we're going to have this kid somewhere down the line in the same spot with Braden Swinson. Are you smoking crimes? Look, Swinson's a great pass rusher. So is James Pierce. And James Pierce is way better against the run. Tommy T said none of his teammates went to his birthday party. Dude, now that I've seen that picture and I remember that his agent was P. Diddy, now I understand why nobody went to his birthday party.
We know what happens at those parties.
There were a lot of bubbles and baby oil at that birthday party. I'm good.
Sorry, I can't come to the party. I didn't bring my slicker. James Pierce, Washington, you better jump on James Pierce, because if you don't, he's going to go within your division in a couple of picks.
Yeah.
Because I have been sold that, okay, if everybody else is going to pass on James Pierce in the first round, I know one team that won't. I know for a fact. Howie Roseman will just, okay, thank you. I'll take it. Did you see the video of the Cooper DeJean pick from the draft room? That was circulating on social media, and it popped up in my feed yesterday. And it was Howie Roseman trying to make a deal to trade up to get in front of, I can't remember what team it was that was on the clock. It might have been the Rams or something. We need to get up in front of the Rams because we're afraid that they're going to take Cooper DeJean. And then they couldn't make a trade. They didn't take Cooper DeJean. He went, fine. Awesome. Picked up the phone, had a deal in place for the next pick, went, he's mine. Hey, he would be that decisive and that quick with James Pierce if he fell to him at the end of the first. I love the pick for the Washington Commanders.
As do I. And I can't wait to debate it with Logan Paulson, because I know he's not a James Pierce guy. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to lie. I did that, and I went, that'll give us something to talk about in the morning.
All right, the number 30 pick, that's the Buffalo Bills.
Buffalo is a team to me that can go so many different ways. But if the draft falls this way, I don't think you should take even 5 seconds to make this call.
Okay.
Trey Amos, cornerback out of Ole Miss.
Okay.
You forgot he was on the board, didn't you?
No, I did not forget he was on the board. I had in my mind Buffalo would go a different way.
Where did you think they would go?
I thought Kenneth Grant would be the pick here.
Do me a favor. Actually, you know what? I'll do the favor for you, because I just realized I'm the one controlling the stream here. Mm-hmm. Let's just go to defensive interior. Here's the list of defensive linemen that are still on the board. Kenneth Grant, Omar Norman-Lott, Tyleik Williams, Derek Harmon, Darius Alexander, TJ Sanders, CJ West, Shamar Turner, Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton, Jordan Phillips, Jamari Caldwell, Ty Robinson. Would you like to hear the corner list? It's not nearly as impressive.
It's not that far.
Especially when you factor in the fact that Buffalo plays a lot of man. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember now. I pulled this just for this pick, and then I have forgotten the number. Buffalo is vamp for me for a second. It's right here. You're in here. You're in here somewhere. Where?
When I keep picking for Buffalo in mock drafts, I can't get away from adding to the defensive line.
So Buffalo played
adding that big dude down low.
So last year, with arguably the worst cornerback room in the league, and they were killed, played the 23rd most man in the league. If you had added even a percentage point to that, they would have been in the top 15.
Okay.
Their corners were awful. Awful. I love Trey Amos. By the way, they met with him, top 30 visit with him, and just had him in the building like 2 or 3 days ago. I love the idea of them taking Trey Amos. You pair him with Teron Johnson and Benford. We have a secondary that's pretty formidable.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait for Bills fans to make the Kyer Elam Trey Amos comparison because one played at Florida and one played at Ole Miss. The only difference is that the tape difference between those two is, I don't know, the difference between James Pierce Jr. and Kirby, the old video game, the big fat marshmallow Kirby video game character.
Right. Abe in the YouTube comments says he'd rather have T.J. Sanders
for Buffalo.
Bills.
I don't think Sanders is going to go quite this high. I like him this high. I have him in top 32, but I don't think he's going to go this high. I do have Buffalo does take a defensive tackle at 56. You will have to listen to the second part of this here pre-recorded mock draft to find out which one that is.
Chef's kiss on the tease for tomorrow's show here on ESPN Asheville. The 31st pick, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. And which way do they go?
I don't think they would think about this. I'm not sure they think about it for a tenth of a second.
Mm-hmm.
It's Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle from Michigan. So
If
now you got
Buffalo,
Chris
if you don't,
Jones and
I'm
Kenneth
gonna-
Grant on the inside. That's not going to be fun. That's not going to be fun to deal with at all. But the offensive line, I got it. They gave a boatload of money to Jalen Moore. They think Jalen Moore fixes the left side. They really do. And that's fine. I don't agree with you, but I also am not in the business of thinking for you.
Mm-hmm.
But now
Booker
you put
is another popular
who
pick here. Booker, Tyler Booker.
I think it was Chiefs Nation UK that said something to the effect of the Chiefs never draft Alabama players, and now that's stuck in my head.
Okay.
Because he's right. They haven't drafted one since Andy Reid's been there.
Okay. Is that an intentional thing?
I doubt it. It's probably just a scheme thing, but
Right.
I love the idea of having – I mean, because, look, you just saw a team and what a team can do with pass rush. Look, they've invested in the outside. It's the inside they haven't invested in. So now you go from Derek Nottie to Kenneth Grant. If that's evolution – you're going to have a brick wall there in a year.
Mm-hmm.
And he's fallen to this point. I love it a lot.
Yep. It makes a whole lot of sense. Then that brings us to the 32nd pick. Final pick of the first round, the Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Do not hit the button yet. Don't hit that button yet. Because we have another button.
Who's gonna break the news? Who's gonna break the news? Who's gonna break the news? Who's gonna break the news?
What's the trade?
So the trade, the Philadelphia Eagles have 2 players on the board that I know for a fact they really like. So there's a team that would like to come up just a couple spots. Not a huge jump. It's just from 32 to 34. It's the Houston Texans. And for my troubles, I get another trade here somewhere. I get 89. So I get an extra third-round pick. I have to give you 134. So basically they jump up, 50 spots back into day 2 just to trade down 2 spots and still get the guy ultimately that they would have taken here anyway.
Okay. And the selection?
Matthew Golden, wide receiver, Texas. The Houston
Right, how
Texans
does
went
he
from
fit?
having one of the best receiving corps in the league to desperately needing a guy that can play wide receiver. And I don't know that I've seen that happen very many times. Golden's been talked about a lot to Houston. Houston got an extra selection for moving back that gets them more into the honey hole of where offensive linemen really go. Because I'm going to level with you, there's not a ton of linemen right here that make a lot of sense. If I'm Philadelphia, I know one of those players is one of the guys that I like, but I would have a pretty good feeling they were trading up for Golden. Mm-hmm. So here you get Golden with the last pick in the first round. You get another weapon for CJ, and then you can use those day 2 picks to build your offensive line out and round those things off. Look, Golden did not play as fast as he ran, but I do think he's got potential because he's a really good route runner. And you put him on the inside of Nico Collins, and now I think you really have something. I just don't think I don't think Golden's ever going to be more than a 2, but I would say that about practically every receiver in this class. I think Ted has the upside to be a 1 one day, but I'm not sure how long that's going to take, and I'm not sure that he'll ever actually get to that spot. But now Howie trades down, gets another extra pick, because that's what he does. And Bob Brown's thinking for Howie Roseman, and I swear to God, Bob, do you have like a bug in my house? Because everything you keep saying is literally what's going to happen 2 picks from now, and it's making me a little nervous. Bob and I talked on the phone the other day, and I think he somehow found a way to digitally put a bug in my office. He knows exactly what's coming.
Yep. Matthew Golden, the final pick of the first round by the Houston Texans. You are in a Sportsocracy, and this is ESPN Asheville. Draftmas season is coming to a close. But, of course, like Christmas, it's going to end with a bang. On Thursday night, we'll have the first round coverage on the YouTube stream. We will be live from the Lake House on Thursday afternoon. Join us tomorrow in the Sportsocracy right here at noon as we will continue. We'll give you the second and the third rounds of the final Flostradamus mock draft here in the Sportsocracy on ESPN Asheville.